Tap that subscribe button and keep it locked here to Secrets to a Free Mind show with your host, Melanie Parker, powered by Quality Girl. In this episode, we'll hear from a minister on fighting for your family's victories, spiritual support for blended families. Keep it locked. Welcome back. I'm Melanie Parker, founder of Quality Girl and your host of Secrets to a Free Mind show, where we help you free your mind, move forward in life. Shout out to Mike Warren at Mike Life Poetry on Twitter for co-designing the cover art and composing the beats. In addition to listening to this podcast, be sure to tap the thumbs up icon, subscribe button, and bell icon to love us, follow us, and receive clips via Twitter on episodes. Let's welcome Bernice Johnson. Hi, Bernice.
Hello, Melanie.
How are you today?
I am blessed and just so pleased to be with you today.
I'm so happy to have you on the episode today, and we're all excited to hear what you have to say. What a pleasure. So, who is Bernice Johnson?
Bernice T. Johnson is a daughter of Arthur and Juanita Howard from Trenton, New Jersey, and I am the mother of 3 adult children. I have 8 grandchildren. I've served in ministry with my husband, and I now operate in the ministry of Beloved by God Ministry. And we are a ministry that focuses primarily on 3 things: prayer, prison ministry, also preaching, preparation for marriage, blended families, and widowhood.
Wonderful, wonderful ministry, wonderful calling. Typically, our pain becomes our passion and platform, Bernice. So was there an experience that was training ground for you?
I would say one of the things that Beloved by God Ministries really focuses on, it's part of the family structure, is particularly blended family. And I would say that being raised in the blended family myself, it was difficult, but there were also always a silver lining. But one thing that was unique about my blended family is that I knew I had a sister, had the same father but different mother. But the other siblings that lived in the house with me, we didn't realize that we did not have the same mother and father until we were 15. So that's sort of like, it was a shocker for me. But on the positive side, it showed that our family blended so well that I never suspected or knew that there was any difference between me and my other siblings.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. Very good. And tell us more about your ministry.
Well, Beloved by God Ministries, I've sort of taken up the baton. My husband and I have been in ministry over 30 years. And so the ministry that I have now, I do a lot of premarital counseling. I also am a wedding officiant, as well as I have a weekly prayer conference that I do, prayer meeting. And I also annually do a luncheon around Mother's Day. We didn't do it this year, but typically around Mother's Day, we do a luncheon that's a little unique, and that is mothers of sons and daughters. So it's not just a typical, luncheon around that time of year with just the women and their daughters, but also bringing in the sons, where I have a male speaker, and also invite the men. So my ministry is really one, I would say, is very practical, and also a ministry of compassion. Mm-hmm. Because I find that because of my own past, where I was raised in a very urban environment and dealt with a lot of, carnality all around me, I became interested basically ministering to my family in prisons and halfway houses, getting them out of drug shelters and things like that. And so that's my passion. So I find that I really use the ministry of compassion that I've been blessed with a lot, because I seem to always have drawn to me people who are dealing with those kind of issues, and people who are hurting, and people who want someone that they can be transparent with, and that'll hold their hand and help them up while they're recovering from a lot of addictions.
And you know what? I'm drawn to you. One, because of your transparency. I love the fact that you unapologetically speak about your experiences, good and bad, and you share them in order to help someone else up. And I love that. I love the fact how you're able to also share experiences from your past home life experiences. And I had the opportunity, and I want to share this to the audience, to attend one of your Mother's Day luncheon a couple of years ago, and it was fabulous. I felt the spirit from the speakers to the dancers, and the love that you shared and projected through hosting this event. So thank you for inviting me, and I'm definitely looking forward to
glad you all was there.
Another time.
It was such a blessing because I knew you were there praying, girl, in the background.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful, as well as you are.
Thank you.
So what is the first step to identifying the root cause of dysfunction in a blended family?
So I would say the first is just to make sure that there's no resentment. I think that is one of the key dysfunctions in a blended family, is that there is resentment either from, say, for example, in my situation, I married someone, I had a son, but my husband, he had two daughters that were 18 months and 4 years old, and I had a son that was 8 years old. And so the resentment that one part of the couple might bring to the union from a previous relationship. Also, there may be resentment when other children are brought into the home that say, a lot of times blended families, they're non-custodial. So you're only dealing with the children maybe once a month or bi-weekly. But in our situation, the other parents, the biological parents for my son and also for my husband's daughters was not involved. So there was an opportunity to resent when these people might, come up from under their rocks, to say I'm the parent and want their rights and, but not follow through. So I think that was one big thing is just, that root of resentment or any bitterness. You have to first identify it and then talk about it, communicate about it, and then also another thing that can cause a dysfunction in a blended family are those extended family members that are not inside the home.
Right.
Because, you realize when you're married into a blended family, it's not just the children. People a lot of times focus on that, but you have the children of your spouse. You have their biological mother, you have their biological mother's mother, so they have grandparents outside of the home that don't know you, may not want to know you. You also have a grandparent who is your husband's mother or father, and they have had a relationship perhaps with your spouse's previous husband or wife. And so you're bringing into your life, you go from, if it's 2 or 3 children, you go to maybe 30 people.
Wow.
That a possibility of being in your life. And especially if there are other children who are siblings of the children that you're blended with, but they're not your husband's children, but they're your blended family children's siblings. So you're taking a whole community on, and then again, back to that resentment, how the non-biological parent feels about you, because you're now the caretaker. And if they still have some underlying feelings, or perhaps they still are believing for or just desiring a reconciliation, and even though the person you married has moved on and well beyond, but the other person has not let go. So, they're going to bring all of that into the mix. So, but by the grace of God, I have to say that we recognize those things. And Michael and I, we really did well. And it's only because of the grace of God. And I think also that I was raised myself in a blended family. Some of the tools that my mother used, and just her long suffering and her patience and her forgiveness and her acceptance of children outside of the ones that she had birthed, I think that really helped bridge many obstacles for me too.
That's a good point. And I want to kind of rewind when you stated that the 30 plus, including or adding to the family mix, you're also adding opinions and what they choose to vocalize. And I think it's also important, and please help me with this, Bernice, to set the tone in your household on, what are rules and what will be said. And you have to not open the door for everyone to know everything. Setting the tone and those boundaries, in a respectful way.
That is crucial. And one thing that worked for us, and you're so right about that, we had to set boundaries with my in-laws and with my husband's in-laws, my family, and also with my daughter's biological mother. And so what we established is that since I was the parent that was taking care of the children, because they did live with us, so we had them 24/7, we immediately set up a schedule that she would communicate with me. We never allowed from the jump the phone calls that I was not included in. My husband was working, and he was working a lot of hours. So I was doing the PTA meetings. I was doing the hair, the food, the baths, the homework. I was the transportation to school and the diapers. I was doing everything. So my husband and I said, well, it's not really right for him to make those decisions about the children when I was the primary caretaker because of his work schedule, not because he was absent father, but I was a stay-at-home mom. And so we set up the boundary that she would need to speak with me and work out with me arrangements when she would get the children. And, most of the time she didn't come through anyway, but she had that opportunity. And so we set up that rule that it wasn't going to be a private relationship anymore between she and my husband. And this might not make sense to people, but how my husband and I looked at it is that she is the mother of the children, but he's someone else's husband now.
That's right.
So I don't have him and calling and having private conversations with my husband.
That's right.
So that's how we looked at it, and that included her. And then when you mentioned the opinions, there were opinions about how I did my daughter's hair. I kept their hair in cornbraids. I would do their hair because I had 3 children. My husband in ministry. I was a stay-at-home mom. I'm cooking and washing. I have a child in diapers. And so I would do the daughter's hair on the weekend, and then I would keep it braided during the week. And there were opinions about that, how they dressed, and so we had to just shut it down. And my husband and I, we were on one accord. That's a must. Mm-hmm. You cannot have a successful blended family.
That's it.
If you and your husband, if there's any, because the outsiders, if you give them an inch, they will take a yard.
There you go.
So everyone knew that Michael and Bernice were going to be in agreement. We made decisions based regarding our household and how we ran our blended family. We were always on one accord.
That's it. That is the number one key. And it has to be, you have to pull rank with your mate, with your husband or wife. And you have to set the tone together and do not let anyone put asunder or come between that. Because when people see blood in the water, they're going to take that advantage. And you have to set that tone together. And I love that. I love when you made that the key point. Which signs should family members be aware when dealing with dysfunction within blended families?
Well, you should look for any signs of one spouse not accepting the spouse's child, or not really being drawn to the child. Now, there is a myth that if you love the person, you'll love their child. And, it's really ridiculous, because the person that all of us got married to, we had to develop that love. We had to grow. We had to learn and know that person. And so it may have taken a couple years before you decided to get married, but yet, you may not get to know the children for that long a period before you come together as a union. And so you don't automatically love your spouse's children. Right. I'm going to say that again. It's not a given. These children have a personality of their own. You have yours. You have your own expectations. You have your own emotions that you're dealing with. Maybe some of your own issues or, interference from outside, or, anything. The child can really be grieving and not being able to express it well because they miss their parent, and maybe they're like in my case, my youngest daughter was 18 months. And so we saw behavior with her that she was sad. She cried a lot, nothing satisfied her. Well, I think it was just withdrawing because she wanted her mom.
Right,
she couldn't verbally express it.
Of course.
So if you have a child that's crying a lot and, it's not the little cuddly, smiley child, well, that's a reality that you're not going to be drawn to that child as much as like my 4-year-old daughter. She was, compassionate. She, loved to talk, and, she was at a different place. So I had to sit down and talk to my husband and say, it's this difficult with my younger daughter, who is adorable. And I mean, she is beautiful, and everybody says she looks like me. They can't believe she's not my bio daughter. But she was more difficult to love. Okay. And on the other hand, my son, because I had been a single parent for 8 years, this boy was like my road dog. So, he was too grown. I didn't realize it until after I got married. We had a conversation, we ran the house together, I discussed everything with him, and he was way too grown. But it was my normal environment. That was your norm. How my son operated. Right. And so when I got married, the way that my son would dialogue with me, we would have conversations like tit for tat, back and forth. Well, that's how we rolled. Uh-huh. My husband, he felt a child should not be that verbal. Uh-huh. And so my mother was visiting one time, and my son was just doing his usual talking back, because that's how he did. And my husband corrected him, just verbally corrected him. Mm-hmm. And I remember my mother, because too, she was used to Jussie and I operate a certain way. Mm-hmm. And he was spoiled. He had a lot of mouth. And she went back to New Jersey. Oh, she's letting her, when we talk about outside interference, which my mother and husband, they just became in love with each other. But at that moment, it was new to her. And seeing someone correct her grandson, uh-huh. She took it all to the, you would think he had drugged the child out. And all he did was say, hey, watch your, that's right. Basically all he said. The man's voice. So, mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but we had to be true that it was right. A struggle. He had some issues with my son that I didn't have. I had some with his daughter. So we had to sit down and talk about those. We had to be patient. And also, we had to trust. Trust is so necessary. Yes. Not only in a marriage relationship, yes. But when you're in a blended family, you don't need to marry anyone that you cannot trust your child's life with. Say it, yeah, exactly. That is so true. That you cannot trust your child's life that with. Is so my true. Husband trusted that even though it was more difficult for me to love her, mm-hmm. he trusted that while I was falling in love with her, yes. which I certainly did, yes. but during that process, that I would not mistreat her. That's right. I would not be unfair. I wouldn't make decisions against her based on how I felt at that time. That's right. And I could trust him that even though he didn't like the way my son talked, and there may have even been a little envy. Uh-huh. And he was raised by his grandma. And, his grandma was old school, and children stayed in their place. Uh-huh. And then, different dynamics. But maybe at some point, my husband, there may have been even a little jealousy. He felt that maybe I was just catering too much to my son. But all of those things, that I still trusted him. First of all, I knew that he loved God. Right. And I knew that the things that he would do, he was going to do everything as unto the Lord. And the same with me. Yes, so we trusted each other with our children, and we allowed each other to grow and to be strengthened in the relationship with our children. We didn't put unrealistic expectations or demands on each other. I love that. And I love the way you guys work together. And you're both transparent about the mistakes that you saw that he helped correct and where you helped correct with his, and you came together. There was a trust that is a key foundation. I love that, Bernice. And prayer. It was so funny that I remember when I was just at my wit's end one day regarding my daughter, because she was just, she just wasn't happy. She was crying and, blah, blah, blah. And I sat down and I just shared with my husband my heart. And so at that moment, that was a day that I wanted my husband to say, well, you know what? I will take care of her, just hands off. Girl, my husband took my hand and he said, listen, we're going to pray. Mm-hmm. He said, I understand that you're not feeling the love right now. Mm-hmm. He said, but I just want you to love her with the love of the Lord. Mm-hmm. He said, and through Christ, you can do all things through Christ, which strengthens you. So I believe that you can be a perfect mother for my daughter. Oh, and I know that you're going to fall in love. I mean, girl, at that moment, I'm like, what? I mean, that was a powerful man. No wonder you were so in love with your husband. Yes. Yes. Oh my God, that's what I'm talking about, Bernice. He was a powerful man, and then I think my husband was like, "Listen, God brought us together," and he did. Was like being practical too. I'm working a lot of hours, right now, you're my wife. This child needs a mama, and you're it, darling.
Yeah, look, hey, you got the hat. Oh my goodness. So real quickly, Bernice, which activities do you suggest to family members?
Well, we used to do things, if you have more money, you can change this. But when my husband and I got married, remember, as I said, I was a stay-at-home mom and my husband was the only one working. We had these 3 children. And so we would do things like taking a ride to nowhere. Mm-hmm. We would get in the car, and that gave us an opportunity to be together in a small space as a family, to talk about things that we saw, to laugh. You know, we might stop and get some snacks, and the children just in the back with their chips. But, you know, it was a relaxing moment. We also did family meals together. Yes. I felt that was really important for us to do meals together. True. And also, we played games. We did a lot of board games. You know, my husband was musical, and so am I. So he had a synthesizer, and I mean, the kids would get the mics. I mean, we would sing together. Fun. You know, so we did things as a family that we like to do. We like to we do charades. You know, things that didn't cost a lot of money, but things that allowed us to laugh together. Quality time. And things that allowed us to grow together and to get to know each other.
I love it. Which spiritual practices do you suggest to families?
Well, with my children, I found I put prayer second. First thing I would say is daily confessions. My children, there was a book, and I believe that Kenneth Hagin had put it out. It's called Effectual Prayers for Children, I believe it is. This was like in the 80s, so I might have it wrong. But they had a confession, and they said it every single night. And we prayed together as a family. You know, we kept our children in Sunday school, and we would go over the lessons at home. You know, we also were involved at every opportunity, like for Vacation Bible School. So spiritually, and my children, they saw us serving God. They saw that our lifestyle was a replica at home as it was when we were in the church house. So we tried to always be the same, but our children also saw that when we might have a heated discussion, you know, they saw mom and dad resolve that, you know, and say, well, you know, we're just going to let the Lord work this out. We talked a lot about spirituality with our children. So all they knew was to trust in God, to know the Lord, and we also introduced them to Holy Spirit. My children were born again early and also baptized in the Holy Spirit, all of them at a young age.
All right. That is wonderful. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, Bernice. During times of the lockdown, how do you create closeness within the family?
Now, are you talking about when they were younger, or just now during this COVID thing? Or what?
During this lockdown, what would you suggest to family to create that closeness?
Well, we do, and actually, I live alone typically, but my son and his family actually came down since Easter from Michigan. Oh, fun. So I have a full house, and it's wonderful. And so I've done some planting of flowers. You know, I started getting involved in that. We do walks together daily. We do it in the morning, and then we do it in the evening. My daughter-in-law, she usually takes off jogging, but we're doing that. We get in the car and we take rides. I think that's always been a thing. I mean, those Sunday afternoon drives that people used to do years ago, you know, I still find that a pleasurable time, you know, just to feel the breeze if you have the windows down and maybe stop and pick up something. And then we do movies, and we have created like a little oasis outside. I had gotten some lawn furniture just around Mother's Day. And then when I was headed home, my son was like, Mom, I have a surprise when we get here. And he and his wife had gone out with the boys. They included them in it. And they had actually all together as a family assembled this big tent over my patio. Oh, nice. And so we sit out there, and we got a little off spray and all that. We sit out there. We even brought the TV out there. So we do movies, we do walks, you know, cooking together. You know, my daughter-in-law and I, like, we are just flowing so well in the kitchen. You know, it's sort of like where I leave off, she just comes and picks up, you know. So we've had a good time during this COVID. I mean, it really has been a silver lining because before this, my family, I don't know a time when they have come, the whole family, and stayed for almost 2 months. You know, I would get the boys at Christmas, but this has been a wonderful time for us.
I agree. It's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful, glorious time. And the activities that you suggested, even during the lockdown, I think those activities also help with emotional wellness, things that you guys enjoy, hobbies that you enjoy doing together. And I think definitely these are some great ideas for people today.
And then we went yesterday looking, and I put it on my Facebook. I said, there's nothing like a little puppy love during the pandemic.
Yes.
My grandson is interested in the dog, and I might be getting one myself. So we just put on a little mask and our gloves, and we went to Petland, where they'll give you your own little private room, and you can just spend time with as many of the puppies as you want. And so that was really a lot of fun, and it was educational too, because we began to discuss different breeds of dogs. Like, you just don't get a dog that's cute,
right? But
what is your family dynamic? You need to get a dog that's not a working dog. If you're mobile, then you need to get a dog like maybe a Cavalier, one that's more laid back. And so it was an educational experience as well for the children. And then we talk a lot about our dreams and our future. And that's something my husband and I did a lot. And my sister and I still do it. I mean, we can sit for hours even at our age, because God is not through with us. So we always are dreaming about our tomorrow and what else is it that God has purposed for our lives that we're here for. Because the things that we've done in the past, they're done. But we still have a future. And what is our tomorrow, our next year, and 5 years from now, the Lord willing, and God doesn't tarry, then what is our next step? We talk about their dreams. What is it that you want to do? And how are you feeling now? Are you in your happy place? Are you having a fear during this time where the norm is now for you to wear a mask and gloves? I mean, how does that make you feel? Do you feel secure? And always trying to make sure that they do feel that their parents are here and their grandmama's here. So regardless of what the news is saying, that they feel safe.
I love how you guys get down, Bernice. You and your family and your sibling. Definitely, I do know. I'm so excited about you hanging out with us today. Any resources you'd like to share with us?
Well, I have a book. It's by Moe, M-O-E, and Paige, P-A-I-G-E, Becnel, B-E-C-N-E-L. And they have a book. It's titled God Breathes on Blended Family. And also there's Dr. Duane and Michelle Mangum, Mangum. They pastor Family Worship Center, and they have a radio show called Straight Talk. And their ministry is in Waldorf, Maryland.
Wow,
and also, I don't know if we actually mentioned The Perfect Blend, did we?
No, you didn't. Please share.
Okay, that was my book.
Absolutely.
Put those other two down as 2 and 3. Number 1, the Perfect Blend by Bernice T. Johnson, and that's available on Amazon.
Okay. Oh, thanks for sharing. We truly enjoyed you today, Bernice. Be blessed continuously.
Well, I have enjoyed being with you, and I hope that your audience gleans something that'll help them in their families, rather even for a secular family, a regular family.
Right.
And also as well as the blended family. Or for those people who are not even married yet. There's good information that I mentioned in my book, Blended Family. I also talk about red flags for people who are looking to be married and have children, things to look for before you enter into a blended family unadvisedly.
Well, we thank you for your transparency as well, and just the things to identify, and also how to come together. It's so important that you come together as a team, and you truly, you have the anointing. You're not just talking, you're not just giving advice, even the extended family members or friends would give advice, but how you truly made it known and key that you two have to pull rank, you and your mate, your husband or your wife, to work together and have God as the head. And I love that. I love that.
Amen.
You have an anointing in the area. And I thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a blessing. And just anytime, I'm available if you ever need me.
Oh, we'll be calling on you again next season. Definitely.
All right, then.
Join us next week for the episode, Help Me Get Clean, Substance Abuse Rehab. Remember, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Peace.